Hamlet said, to be or not to be, that's the question. And it was, at that moment in his life, that was the question. At that point, when he had reached the point where he said, it's so much bullshit, it's so much corruption and lies and deceit, hypocrisy and murder, so much corruption, and no matter what you do about it, no matter what you try to do about it, what you say, it doesn't seem to make a dent. No matter, it doesn't seem like you have the ability to really have any effect on the fact that this is the way the society we live in is. And when he reached that point, he started to say to himself, if that's the case, is it really worth going on? If that's what you have to look forward to, is just more of the same futility, and having to deal with the same bullshit and watching all the assholes constantly get whatever they want because they're willing to take it and nobody else is willing to stand up and say, hey, you're wrong. So that was at the moment in his life where he said, is it really worth it anymore? To have to go on putting up with the same bullshit. The slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. So at that moment, when he's saying, should I pull the trigger or should I not? Should I run this razor over my wrist or not? That was the question at that moment. But in general, as we go through our lives, the real question is, through all of our lives, there's a two-part question. One, can you tell the difference between bullshit and truth? Can you tell the difference between lies and authentic? And number two is, do you care? Because it's quite possible that lots of people know the difference between lies and truth. They know the difference between bullshit and authentic. And they prefer the bullshit. They're happy with the bullshit, they actually prefer it. And they get annoyed with any time somebody's trying to point out the truth. Because that bothers them. Because that makes things a little bit more inconvenient. That's all. The title, The Inconvenient Truth. Of course, truth is always inconvenient. That's why all controversy is based on an inconvenient truth. There's a truth that is inconvenient to enough people that they are going to become angry and offended at anybody who dares to speak that truth. That's what it comes down to. That's what controversy is. That's what inconvenience is. So people know that what they're believing is lies, and they've made the decision that that's what they want. That's what they're about. But there's other people who don't want lies, but maybe aren't capable of distinguishing which things are lies and which things aren't. So there's the two-part question. Number one, can you tell the difference between lies and truth? And number two, do you actually prefer the truth? Or are you just as happy, or even happier, having lies, having bullshit? Those are the questions. And when you think about it, what Hamlet was going through is very much exactly the questions that Hamlet was asking himself about whether it's worth trying to fight a whole system that's full of bullshit. His father had been murdered. His mother was fucking the guy that murdered his father. They were all lying and phony, and of course they all put on the pretenses, this superficial surfaces when he comes, oh, how nice to see you, Prince, young Prince. Oh, we've missed you so much. When all the time they plan to stab him in the back in every way, and he knows this. But he has to bide his time waiting for the right moment to make his move, because he knows that's the kind of bloodthirsty. You see, even but the thing is, even if he didn't have to feel afraid for his own safety, even if he could feel, well, these people aren't really out to get me, which they were, even if he could think, well, he's going to be left in peace, he still had reason enough to despise them anyhow for what they did to his father. It was all bullshit. And so this is not very different from very, very, very much the same situation as Winston Smith in 1984. Winston Smith was very much the same sort of person, just Hamlet. He was living in this world that was dominated by deceit, lies, murder, theft, hypocrisy, bullshit. It was all bullshit. And he realized in the end of 1984, Winston Smith realized there was nothing. It was futile. It was futile to resist. There is nothing you can do about it. You are overpowered and overwhelmed and outnumbered. And the only choice you have available to you is to accept it, to be assimilated. Resistance is futile. You will be assimilated. And in the end of 1984, Winston Smith said he realized he loved Big Brother. He wasn't going to fight Big Brother anymore. There was no point in it. He couldn't possibly win. So that was the same point that was the point that he reached. And the difference between Hamlet and Winston Smith is Winston Smith at least had a survival instinct. He wanted to remain alive for whatever reason. However disappointing life was, he still preferred to remain alive. Whereas Hamlet said, "I'm going to stand up. It's not worth living in a corrupt world anymore. And if I have to go down fighting, then that's what I will do." And that's what he did. So that's the question: are you capable of recognizing the difference between truth and bullshit? And do you care? The average person doesn't care. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear about how bullets impact a person's body. They don't want to hear about how airplanes impact a skyscraper. Because that would be inconvenient. That would be the truth. The truth would be inconvenient. So there's your distinction. There's a distinction between the people who go through life believing that the truth will set you free, and the majority, the overwhelming masses of people living lives of quiet desperation, who say the truth is inconvenient. We'd rather not be free. Freedom is slavery, after all, and ignorance is strength. You see, ignorance is strength. So the truth will not allow us to be ignorant anymore. So the truth will make us weak, so they say. And freedom is slavery. So the truth will set you free, and if you're free, then that's slavery, so they say. So the freedom of knowing the truth, they are afraid, will make them slaves, so they remain slaves to the lie, because being slaves to the lie, they've accepted the lie that the lie is truth. That freedom is slavery, that war is peace, that's the lie. Arrgh.